Welcome back to my channel. This is the next part in my review of the Wormcity worm farm. And so we checked on the worms the following day after I set this up, and as had been predicted, some of the worms had migrated into the top here. A few of them had migrated down into the bottom. However, when I checked on them yesterday, which is Saturday, all of the worms that had been in the bottom had migrated back up into the main tray, and there were only a few left in the top. All of the worms seemed extremely happy. None of them were trying to escape. I had left the light on at night so that none of them tried actually crawling out. Turns out I had the roof on the wrong way round, but you know, I don't think it really matters which way round. I'm going to say though that if you have these outside and you live, you can't put it in an area that's seriously sheltered, I would still put a brick on top, or try and use these holes and get them lining up and bolt them shut, because I really don't think these lids would stay on in the kind of high winds that we get where I live. So if I'd got this outside, well, I've had a brick on top of this indoors anyway, but I think I'd be putting something through that just to keep these lids on. So we're going to have a check and see what's going on. And well, it would seem, apart from just one little straggler just there, bless it, I don't actually have any at all in the top there. So we can see just that tiny little one who's now not happy because we've opened this up and put him in the light. But what I want to do today as well is have a look to see whether I need to feed them at all. So I'm just trying to set this tripod up so that we can set it all up, and then I can, without trying to actually
One eternity later.
Right, so there, that's now crawling back down into the bottom, as you can see. So I'll be able to gently lift him up. I don't know why on this tripod, every time I try and adjust this, one of the clips always decides it's not going to pin open. I'm just going to move this top tray. There we go, it's fallen back through. Just have to make sure there aren't any clinging to the side. I just don't know if you can see that, but there you go. There's beddings and casting already on the side from these worms. This side's better to see. You can see where they push it all up from underneath. I'll just take that out. As I've said before, there is not a lot of room in here to work with. So there we go, you can just see right there, there are a few, actually I can't see any at all now on the top. Let's just see if we can find some underneath this paper. So they've all buried themselves quite deeply. There we go, look, there's all our little chaps. So they don't like the light, and you can see that actually from the bit of food that I gave them the other day, which is here, there's some little bits left, they're actually eating the food quite well. I don't want to have them out in the open too much. So it is time to feed them. There's one of the little worms on top. So I'm just giving the back a check, and there's quite a few of the worms through this paper. So yeah. So what I've got for them is a few bananas, and all I'm going to do, I've got my garden knife, I'm just going to slice them up. Slice them open, and then I'll bury them quite deeply. Because these are now really ripe, they're starting to smell. And so what I don't want to do is I don't want to be attracting everything else as well. I'm just slicing these down the middle as well. And again, bad dexterity, so I'm doing that off camera, because if I try and do it in front of the camera, what I'm going to do is end up cutting myself. So put those there, and then I can show you there. So like that, I'm just going to put them face down, and the worms love these. So in this corner, being gentle and moving that aside, so you can see the colour difference already between the surface and further down. So I'm just going to bury these down there like that, and then put the paper back on top. Do the same again over here in this corner. A little worm like that, and back. There we go. And because they have all this paper on top, I'm actually not going to put any more what would be considered carbon in there. And I'm actually going to leave them to it. But normally when you feed, you wouldn't want to just put what's considered your nitrogens in there, so your greens, all your food and things. You'd want to normally be making sure that your carbons are going in as well, so that your bins don't become too wet. But this is a brand new bin, so I can get away with this to start off with, but you'd want to be monitoring that. Now, because they're going through the cocoa coir at the bottom, which I think the next time I check on this bin, I might actually put more of that in, because I've got some that's already pre-soaked, because I've been using that throughout the season for sprouting. So I might actually do that anyway, and see how they get on. because they seem to really like that as bedding. And it'll also give me a nice fine lot of castings. So that's them all tucked up, and the next part of this will be probably in a few weeks' time. So I'll see you then.